Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Kingdom Hearts 3 playthrough. So, we are here on the world map once again, and we are given a lot more freedom, actually, in terms of where we can go, what we can do, which is really quite nice. It's a lot more open now. We can do stuff with the gummy shop, gummy ships, we can edit the gummy ship. This is not going to end phenomenally well for me, but it's okay. We will make it through. So yeah, at the end of the last part, we obviously got to see Kairi and Lee again. Obviously, Lee is, well, Axel is once again voiced by Quentin Flynn, who does an excellent job. And Kairi is voiced by Alison Stoner, who has voiced her on a few occasions, but who is... So Alison was primarily the voice of Shion, and then her and Hayden Panettiere began sort of alternating a little bit. So Hayden voiced her for Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2 and Birth by Sleep. Alison Stoner voiced her in in Rechain of Memories, 358 Over 2 Days, 0.2 Birth by Sleep, Fragmentary Passage, and then Kingdom Hearts 3. And what, like, no disrespect to Alison Stoner's performance, I think she does an excellent job with Kairi. I do miss Hayden. I think that it would have been nice to have had her back for this, if just, you know, for kind of completion's sake, because they got obviously so many of the original voice actors back. I mean, obviously, really the only ones that aren't back that you couldn't get back are the ones who sadly passed away before they were able to do any voice acting, a la Leonard Nimoy, Alan Young, etc. From what we can sort of tell, she wasn't asked to return for Kingdom Hearts 3, and it's kind of difficult to tell why. All the information that we've got is that she wasn't asked, and that kind of could be for sort of any reason, really. It could have been because she might have been difficult to work with, I don't know, but then they wouldn't have had her voice Shion in Dream Drop Distance, so that doesn't sort of tally. It could be because of scheduling conflicts, because they knew that she was recording Nashville at the time and knew they wouldn't get her. It could have been money issues, like they'd fought out for a large number of other actors and they didn't think that it was worth paying for Hayden when they had Alison, who was already doing or already likely to come back for Shion, who obviously of course we know Shion's going to be in this game. And also with Alison having voiced Kairi previously as well, it's sort of one of the things of going, well, it makes sense from a business perspective. And there are any number of reasons why they didn't get Hayden Panettiere back, but yeah, ultimately I think it's unfortunate. I do wish that they had, but these things happen and you can't always help it. Now, before we actually go any further with the story, i.e. go to the next world, we're going to go right on back to Olympus because, you know, I said in the last part, I'm a little bit anal retentive about ensuring that I get all of my chests and all of my lucky emblems. So, since this is the first time really that we get a chance to go back to Olympus, it's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to have a great old explore of Olympus, and actually it's quite nice because you get to see it in a new light, because obviously when we went through it the first time everything was crumbling around us, everything was getting destroyed, but actually now that we come back they're rebuilding and it's a lot brighter and it's really quite nice actually. So, yeah, we're going to spend a nice bit of time exploring, and I will admit that it was kind of towards the end of, / at the end of this, that was when I was just like, okay, no, I definitely need the guide. I think with Twilight Town, it was just one thing that I needed it for. Everything else, I was just like, no, I'm going to run around, I'm going to find it. I'm stubborn, I don't need a guide for this sort of stuff. And then what you're about to witness occurred. And then it was just like, oh boy, no, this is not happening. So, yeah. So we have a wonderful 2 parts of exploring Olympus as it gets rebuilt. Well, Thebes as it gets rebuilt, and all that jazz.
Still needs a little work, though.
Yes, but it was good enough to complete a photo mission. I don't know why photographing it from a different angle didn't work, but hey, these things happen. Now, what's really quite awesome is that the Agora here, which is, you know, where we are. Yes, Donald, this might be a good spot to find ingredients. You can not say that all the time, please. That you don't need to. But yes, so now that everything is being rebuilt, you can actually go to a whole bunch of different areas quite quickly. From, well, not a huge number of areas from the Agora, but sort of like there are more routes to get to the different areas of Olympus, which is really quite fun.
Well, hey there, sluggers. I gotta say, it's good to have you back.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be here for that long, you know, Meg, but still, it is nice to be back. I just have to, you know, figure out how to pick up the remaining 9 treasure chests that I am missing, and all of the lucky emblems in Olympus, because obviously when we were first here we didn't get any, because we didn't know that they existed, even though we could see them.
Well, I'll help you find
But
the next
yes, that
one.
is 10. And thank you for your support, Goofy. I'm sure that you will find them all for me. Or find the next one at least anyway.
Find some ingredients around here.
Yes, guys. Ingredients, they are here. We will pick them up, it's fine. I didn't find it... Well, I mean, I did find it a little bit grating when I was playing, but I'm finding it a little bit more grating now that I'm watching back over all of this.
I bet we'll find some ingredients around here.
Oh dear, I think when I go back to do the extras, I might just go, you know what? Just shut up about... I think we'll find something around here, because just for the love of God, no, shut up, guys. I mean, at least our party members don't do that sort of stuff, largely because, you know, they don't know the existence of a little chef and all that jazz. Now, something else that you can actually do in Olympus when you come back to it is something that I didn't realise until a little bit too late. There's a little sort of side excursion, a little side quest, so to speak. One of the sort of only ones in the game, which is a bit odd. But basically there are a whole bunch of golden Hercules statues littered about Olympus. And, Goofy.
I bet that's a great one.
That was perfect. And, the reason I didn't, you know, press the triangle is because I thought, oh, it's just getting me to check it. What am I doing? I should just pick the bloody thing up, because that's what the triangle button does. It picks them up, and then you take them back to... There was that kid in the Agora who had a whole bunch of statues on his stall, And yeah, you've got to collect 5 of the golden herks and take them to him, and then he'll give you a little something. It's the only kind of side quest of its ilk in the entire game, from what I recall.
Let's see.
I honestly don't remember there being anything else, really. Which is a shame, but
We'll find some
I
ingredients
suppose
around
it makes sense in the context of this world for it to, you know, be here, but I don't know why they then wouldn't, you know, do something similar in any of the other worlds in the game. I suppose it's just one of the few slightly questionable decisions that were made in terms of gameplay for this game.
This might be a good spot to find some ingredients.
Including this. So yeah, it is just one of those things where I perhaps would have liked to have seen more side quests. I mean, I know for a lot of people they would have definitely liked to have seen more post-game stuff. Just in general, because I think one of the things that, I might have already said this already, but one of the things that a lot of people seem to have done with Kingdom Hearts 3 is judge it in comparison to the original Kingdom Hearts 2. Well, no, they're comparing Kingdom Hearts 3 to Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, which is obviously, it's a very different kettle of fish. Because you look at, if you look back at like original Kingdom Hearts 2, which is ultimately what we have here with Kingdom Hearts 3, it is the original version of this game. Part of me hopes that we don't get a final mix, purely because I think that would just be a bit of a waste. And also, I sort of like this being sort of just the game that we got, because there is still a decent amount of stuff to do here. You've got all the gummy ship stuff, you've got the admittedly only one secret boss, but it's a secret boss. You've got all the sort of stuff to do with synthesis. There's plenty of mini games to hand. There's also some kind of special battles that open up once you have sort of beaten the game, or at least gotten to the final world anyway. And yeah, so there is a decent amount of stuff here. Obviously it does pale in comparison to Final Mix of Kingdom Hearts 2, because that had all of the data organisation fights, it had all of well, it had the Sephiroth fight. Unfortunately, there is no Sephiroth fight in this game. I know that there was an interview with Nomura and so on, which asked, is Sephiroth going to be in this game? Is there going to be a Sephiroth battle? And they were sort of just like, not really decided yet, but we're sort of edging towards no, was effectively the answer. And it was because they thought that they'd already done it twice, and that they'd already done it too many times. Which I appreciate, but then also, I don't think anybody would have cared about seeing it again, because that fight sort of appeared, anyway, as a hallmark of the mainstay Kingdom Hearts titles. It was sort of one of the things you came to expect, even though obviously there was only 2 mainstays, Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, but you sort of expected a Sephiroth battle. I mean, you expected some Final Fantasy characters to be there, and they're nowhere to be seen, which is kind of sad, I suppose. But to be fair, I didn't really miss them, because the franchise has sort of been edging towards being,
Let's see,
primarily Disney for quite a while. But then there are, I suspect, sort of a variety of other things, and considering the Kingdom Hearts story stuff itself has been evolving as it's gone, it's become much more important than the Final Fantasy characters were in this franchise anyway. So they're effectively the stand-ins for the Final Fantasy stuff. So at the end of the day, their exclusion from this is not the worst thing in the world, because you're getting that Final Fantasy-ness in the Kingdom Hearts-ness. I hope that made some form of sense. Look, I'm trying to sort of come up with insightful commentary on the fly as I run back through an area we've already explored, trying to pick up chests that I have no idea where they are. It's going to happen. And oh yes, that was another photo mission. Capture a shot of a flame core. There's a couple of enemy-specific photo tasks which you have to do. They're not too horrendous. I think there's only one that I know of that is maybe a bit more challenging, but that's because it's related to a very specific enemy, which actually I think outside of, well, in the main story it's not really that present. So it's a bit difficult to get that one, but it's fine. And that was a complete waste, but it's fine. Also, I really like double arrow guns.
Hope we find some ingredients around here.
I think the reason that I really like double arrow guns is because it's basically the it's basically like Wisdom Form, but better. Because it feels a lot more fluid, it feels a lot more exciting, and also it feels like it actually, you know, hits and does damage, which I don't think it... Wizard Form, Wisdom Form never really felt like it did a huge amount for me, so I hardly ever used it, whereas I really like the double arrow guns, and eventually turned into the Mirage Launcher, which is quite fun. Also, here's a brand new thing. This right here is one of the Fantastic Plans. Basically, they will set you different challenges. You're going to be going throughout a variety of worlds, and yes, they will set you various challenges, and some of them are really quite challenging, others are a bit easier. This one I would say is relatively challenging, because it's obviously all about ensuring that you get as many of these guys as possible, and you have got a time limit, so you sort of want to be hitting all of the arrows as much as possible, and I am doing a very terrible job of it right here. There are fantastic plans throughout every single world that you're going to visit, and all of their challenges are very different, so you never know quite what you're going to be faced with. And that's sort of basically the gist of it, really. If you manage to get an excellent ranking on every single Fantastic Plan mission, then I believe that you will get an Orichalcum Plus, which you are going to need if you want to manage to synthesize the Ultima weapon. So you're definitely going to have to do this if you want that Ultima weapon, and don't worry, I will be. That is a good ranking. Basically, you can tell how well you've done based on what they provide you. If you get a good one, they will sort of do a little clap for you, and that will then give you one of their special,
Let's see.
their special ingredient items. So that was a sour cherry, because this is the cherry flan. And if you do badly, they'll sort of just kind of flop and just go, If you get sort of the excellent, then what they'll do is they'll jump up and clap and be really happy, and you'll get 3 of their ingredient item and a little special extra. So that's really quite nice and fun. And we will be going through all of them. You'll see a variety of them throughout the playthrough as a whole, because that's just how I roll. I'm going to be running into these guys as we go. But then when we get to the post-game and the extras, that's when I'm going to, you know, dedicate the time to ensuring that I actually get those high scores that are required, because I want that ultimate weapon. Because ultimately, ultimate weapon, I'm pretty sure, is definitely the best Keyblade in the game.
Wow! Look how
So
high up we are.
I really do quite want it. Oh, you don't want to do any more crazy stunts, do you, Donald? Well, I'm sure we will just have to make you do even more. It's going to be absolutely delightful. And here I'm just going, right, have I got everything? And then it's just like, oh yes, I've got enemies to defeat. And yes, we are a good nearly halfway through this video. I really should have sped this up. Like, you get you think you're sort of doing the right thing when you're editing some of these parts, and you're just going, yes, just do it in real time. Then you can be a little bit lazier in terms of editing. It makes things just a lot more fluid. You don't have to worry about sort of finding the points where you want to speed it up, slow it down. You can just roll with it and it's delightful. But then you actually get into the doing the commentary for this sort of thing, and they're just like, oh, yeah, maybe I should have, because it is difficult to talk about sort of this type of stuff anyway, without having specific conversation points to go on. And I mean, this is just a general commentary thing. You learn it over the years and figure stuff out over the years. And I have ultimately, I hope, anyway, please, I hope, have gotten better at mostly doing commentary. I've gotten lazy with my editing, I can tell you that much. But in general, I hope that I have improved-ish as a commentator. Well, I can personally definitely say that I am a lot better than I was when I first started a very, very long time ago. 10 years to be exact-ish. So I'm definitely a lot better than I was then. But even now, there's still stuff that I could improve. I've just sort of reached the point of, I'm too lazy. And since I have to bring it up again, it's my last full playthrough. It's just like, well, I've not learned to sort some of those issues out so far. So, hey, why change it for the last one? What sense does that make? I mean, really, that is just pure laziness. It's ridiculous, but still. Now, one of the things that actually I have just thought of, which is, thank God, I've actually got it. Oh, I didn't realise I could do that. So yeah, you can do a sort of first-person shooter mode with the double arrow guns as well, which is quite fun. I would still just use the sort of general floaty style, it works much better. But it is something that is available to you. Yeah, so actually looking at Sora's health bar and MP bar makes me sort of think back to when I sort of like playing the original Kingdom Hearts games, and I do feel like you do get a lot more health in Kingdom Hearts 3 than you do in the previous Kingdom Hearts games. Like, I recall it taking us to get to sort of like the third, fourth worlds at least, maybe second, third, to get sort of a health bar that was as big as this. And then it was sort of like to the end of the MP bar by the time we got to the end. But yeah, we seem to have a lot more health in Kingdom Hearts 3. I suppose that also contributes to it feeling easier than other Kingdom Hearts titles. But then I'm not overly fussed about that. I mean, I suppose one of the things that it's worth going into is that whole debate over difficulty. And so
I bet we'll find some ingredients.
you can
around
probably
here.
guess where I sit on that fence. Sit in terms of that argument anyway. And that is that while it is nice to have difficulty in games where it's appropriate, it is also nice sometimes to have a more relaxing gaming experience. I think the key thing that most games need to present to people is the option. And I suppose that is where Kingdom Hearts 3 falls down, in that its challenging option is not challenging enough for the people who want the challenging option. That said, you do have extra options in terms of making things more difficult for you, because obviously you can turn off the attraction commands, so you can completely get rid of them. You can turn off the transformation animations for the Keyblades, which in some instances can help, because some of them will cause extra damage as they're attacking, which is great. But obviously, if you're wanting a challenge that's going to sort of make things easier for you. So you have those at hand. Also, I'm pretty sure that you have I'm not sure if you have the 0 EXP option from very early on, but I do seem to think that you sort of do. So you have that available to you as well if you want to have an easier time of things, or a more challenging time of things. 0 XP is not going to make things easier, I can tell you that now. So there are a variety of things that you can do to make the game harder for you, but it's not sort of related to the overall difficulty. And yeah, this is the moment where I'm just like, figure collection. Oh, golden hooks. Oh, that makes sense. That's why I did that. That's why it was letting me pick them up. And I was just like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I'd collected all of them? And I'm just like, oh, I missed a golden hook. And now I'm just like, oh great, now I've got to go try and find it. God damn it. Annoyingly, it's the one that I just ignored. It'll take me a little while to figure that one out. Oh dear. But yeah, I will say, yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3 is maybe a tad on the easy side, but honestly, I don't mind that. I mean, you're listening to the guy who very, very happily plays games like Kirby's Epic Yarn, Prince of Persia 2008. Like, a lack of difficulty is not a problem to me. I like having those more relaxing, just playing a game for the pure heck of it experiences.
Come on, fellas.
And it's only when I get to certain moments where I really want that difficult challenge. And to be fair, I think as I get older and as I have less time to enjoy games than I used to, because of sort of everything else that kind of ends up taking priority when you start adulting and all that jazz. I prefer having a slightly easier time getting through a game, because then I'm not likely to get stuck, I can just sort of roll through it, enjoy the story, and yeah, just have a ball. The other reason why actually having sort of a game be on the easier side, but then presenting a challenge for the more hardcore gamers, is accessibility, actually. Because when you have a game that is sort of on the easier side, it generally means that more people are going to be able to play it, and more people are going to be able to enjoy it. Because if you're thinking about all those people who don't regularly play video games, if they're going to struggle playing something, then they're not going to enjoy it, and then they're not going to likely want to play anything else in that series. So you end up automatically limiting your audience if you make something too hard. And obviously there are people in the gaming community that would like that. I don't know why you would, because why would you want anybody to severely limit their audience? One, that's less money, and two, it means that your medium stands less of a chance of surviving and succeeding. But then people are just weird, so what do I know? So, with that whole thing, I think that it does just make sense, because I mean, also with that whole accessibility thing, for people with sort of various access needs, so like if you have some sort of physical impairment, having sort of those easier options available means that you are not going to sort of be prevented from completing a story because you physically cannot play the game in the manner that it expects you to in order to succeed. You have sort of that, you have the ability to do it, and really ultimately that is something that I have become much more of an advocate of sort of these past couple of years than I ever was before, and it's because I have done a lot more work in my actual day job to do with accessibility. I mean, in sort of when I used to work at theatre, it was all about accessible performances, so it was doing things like having captioned performances and purely, well, not purely signed performances, but having a person doing sign language on stage for the performance. And then the other ones were audio described performances, and you also had relaxed performances, which were always really delightful because they were primarily intended for those on the autism spectrum and for those living with dementia and various needs of that ilk. And so what you sort of do with those relaxed performances is the auditorium lighting is sort of a lot brighter. Well, not a lot brighter, but normally when you're at a theatre show, they completely turn off the lights, whereas in a relaxed performance, they maybe dim them ever so slightly or just leave them up entirely. They also remove like any loud bangs, any things that might overly startle someone who has autism or dementia. And it generally just makes everything easier for them to experience and enjoy, because ultimately you want people to be able to enjoy the stuff that you're putting on, and if you don't, then obviously you're effectively saying you are not worth seeing this show, and that's not the way to go about it, because disabled people are allowed to enjoy theatre as well. So that was sort of my first real experience of accessibility in things, and that was an eye-opener, and I sort of liked helping out on those sorts of things, because allowing more people to enjoy theatre it's a wonderful thing. When I then moved to my current job, which is in communications at a local government authority, very exciting. My job required me to know what I was doing with accessibility in terms of the web, because obviously people who are disabled and have access needs also need to go online. They don't just exist without using the internet in any capacity. I mean, how ridiculous. So I really did very much sort of have to learn a variety of things, of like how screen readers work, how you had I really had to sort of properly get up to snuff on things like alt text, and just sort of generally how accessibility features work on the web. And I've become a lot more passionate about ensuring that that sort of stuff is more open to people. So all of the videos that I've done whilst at work have been subtitled. I've just been determined to try and make them as open as possible to as many people as possible. Obviously, I have not had the budget or abilities or capabilities in order to get them signed. So there's nobody kind of doing sign language for any of them, which is unfortunate, but needs must. But I just really, I'm really passionate about it, and in terms of gaming, whenever I see a game that has those sort of really helpful accessibility features, so the ability to sort of do what you like with subtitles, have them turned on automatically so that you know you have to turn them off if you don't want them, but also the ability to like change the font size on your subtitles, the ability to put a background on if you want it, names attached to it or not, those sorts of features are really helpful. And I can't believe I just ran past that the first time and didn't take a photo of it. Oh well, it's okay. So yeah, so things like that are super helpful. The ability to map your controls onto your controller, so you decide how you want to play and what's most comfortable for you. That's always a really, really helpful feature. Also, sort of having various colour contrast options available is super great, because obviously some people are colourblind, and so if things aren't of a different enough contrast, they can be difficult to see and difficult to spot. And obviously if you've got enemy attacks that are coming at you and you can't tell what they're doing, so you can't figure out what on earth you're meant to do to prevent it, it becomes a bit of a nightmare. I mean, a prime example would be like the I'm attacking you and the you can't block me attacks in Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, because obviously those attacks are cued entirely by colour. If you can't tell the difference between those colours, how the hell are you meant to know what the attack is coming? And so that is sort of the type of example where you would really, really, really want those accessibility features in place if they aren't sort of different enough colours to be able to tell the difference. And as an extension of that, having an easier difficulty is then sort of an access tool. And it can be really helpful. I mean, I would say that like Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2's easy modes are a really good example of trying to ensure that everybody of any skill level can play your game, because you have easy automatic, which is like It's really easy, but all you have to do is sort of like press one button, or on the Switch, well, Wii U / I think Switch, you have the touch control style, which is easier for some people, and so you have those options. And so having a game that is, as I said, easier, it's not a bad thing. I think, as I've said, the one bit where Kingdom Hearts 3 does let itself down is in not having necessarily enough options available for people who want a challenge.
I'll help you find the next one.
And while that is a problem, it's not really... Well, it's an issue, but it's not a problem, because ultimately you want to try and support as many people as possible when you're creating a game. So just by sort of making a game too easy for some people, does it really matter? And maybe that sort of is just being a little bit kind of avoiding the point, but you're always going to target the bigger audience, and ultimately the more casual gamer is the bigger audience. It just makes business sense. And also, because of the nature of where we're at with gaming right now, it is always always possible that they will patch in like a critical mode difficulty that makes things more challenging. I think they have already said that they are thinking about / talking about / working on various downloadable contents, so that will also increase what we're able to do in Kingdom Hearts 3 and all of that jazz. So honestly, while the game might not be everything in terms of the challenge that people want it to be right now, there's every chance that going forward it will get that. But obviously you've got to consider that they did spend a while making sure that, you know, this game could actually come out. They actually worked on developing it and spent quite a while doing so. So I generally it's okay. And I hope that you found that rather long discussion interesting in some fashion. I mean, whenever I sort of, you know, get talking on that sort of stuff, I do tend to sort of waffle on, but I think it is because it is something that I am passionate about. I want more people to be able to get the joy of these things. Obviously, I am also one of the people who, upon Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out, would definitely say, for your own sanity, play the other Kingdom Hearts games, because while I would say that Kingdom Hearts 3 does a decent job of trying to make sure that everybody is in on the story, I mean, that's where sort of all the flashbacks and bits that you get littered throughout are, and they do explicitly mention the plot points that you need, and they do offer sort of different bits and bobs for you to get the gist of what's going on. But for you to experience the sort of full emotional weight of Kingdom Hearts 3, and also to get the most out of it, you really do need to have played all of the other Kingdom Hearts games. And I mean, for me, that it makes sense. You wouldn't pick up like the 6th book in a book series that has been telling us kind of continuous story for a ridiculously long time. Like with Harry Potter, you would not start Harry Potter on Order of the Phoenix and then complain about not knowing what the hell's going on. You just wouldn't. I mean, to be fair, the better example would be starting on the Deathly Hallows and complaining about not knowing what the hell's going on. It's just like, well, obviously. And the fact that Disney ultimately, well, Square Enix have made it so incredibly easy to access all of the games in the series via the 1.5 plus 2.5 HD Remix Collection and 2.8 are all available on PS4. It's just like, well, it's all there for you if you want it. So it's really, Kingdom Hearts 3 had a really difficult challenge to face because it had to sort of introduce people to the Kingdom Hearts series if they decided that that's what they wanted to do. Crazy people that they are. But also it had to please fans and make them happy. And it's a difficult one because personally, I think that it has achieved what it set out to do. It made me a very, very, very happy person. But then I know that a lot of other people are disappointed. I would say this is definitely easily the most divisive game in the series by far, but I would go back to that being because the job that it had to do was... Oh my god, I missed that chest. Oh well. Yeah, the job that it had to do was sort of nearly impossible, so at least the fact that quite a lot of people really do like Kingdom Hearts 3, I think says more than enough that it is a good game, it is a lot of fun, has its flaws, but it's one of those things where I think you kind of just got to make up your own mind on what you want and what you expect out of it, and you'll sort of get what you put in, I suppose. But we're about sort of, obviously we've explored quite a lot of Olympus now to pick everything up. We've still got a bit further to go, so next time we'll be exploring the realm of the gods and just also picking up a few stragglers that I missed. But hey, it's okay. So I do love this staircase. It's a lovely staircase.